Hello, my name is Andrew Leach, and right now what I'd like to present is it's a training I've been concocting that's based off of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a training for intensive case managers to work with homeless population. So, to start a little history, I've been working in residential services for about 5 years with clients with severe and persistent mental illnesses. And I've learned a great deal, I think, in that period. And a few years back, I was arguing with a horrible supervisor I had, my least favorite so far. We were arguing because I felt that I was trying to promote self-reliance and that he was trying to promote billing. And somewhere in the argument, I don't really even think it was a good point, but he grabbed Maslow's hierarchy of needs and said, "This is our mission statement." And I don't know where he got it from. He got it from somewhere else, I'm sure. It didn't sound like anything he made up, obviously. But it stuck with me. And it stuck with me on my own. I kind of felt like I kind of felt like I won the argument in a lot of ways because I was working on people's higher needs and he was either way. So either way, wherever I regurgitated this from, I've been kind of like trying to think of things in the sense of Maslow's hierarchy of needs when I work with clients. So Maslow's pyramid does a great job at giving weight and importance to the various needs of the human being. It suggests a path. So like there's the base level where you're working on physiological needs, where you need food and water, and then after that you need safety, and then after that you need relationships and self-esteem and self-actualization. The fact that there's a tier level where we need to work on those base levels before we move up, I've always really liked that. So the purpose of this training is to help intensive case managers better understand the struggles of the homeless population, and also to impress the importance of networking with other professionals. Knowing about multiple resources, getting access to available benefits, and any other community resources available is key to working with a homeless individual. So to begin this training, I must first reimagine Maslow's pyramid into a structure that better explains the confounding variables that may occur on the path to being homeless, as well as the struggles that exist once homelessness occurs. So, without further ado, may I present to you Maslow's Tower of Instability. All right, so here we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs reimagined on our Tower of Instability, which is essentially a Jenga tower. Or in this case, it is called a tumbling tower because I'm not getting paid Jenga money, so. So as you can see, at the bottom we have the physiological level. We have the safety level in green here, and in pink we have love and belonging. Purple we have esteem, and we have self-actualization on top. So on the other side, I've kind of just put other words to associate with those needs. So like we have food and water, housing for the physiological, even though housing kind of goes into safety, but it's right there in the line. Financial and physical security needs for safety. For love and belonging, we have intimacy and relationships. And for the esteem level, we have self-esteem and respect. And for self-actualization, I put creativity. So creativity needs that exist there. So what I like about the tower is it kind of gives a better example of how things fall apart. So let's just pull a couple of self-actualizations off, because I don't think any of us have all that much self-actualization. And let's look at this as just like your average Joe, you or me, and living very healthy at this point. Not a lot of holes in places. Very stable individual. But stability eventually fails, or can fail, with the help of things like an addiction that comes in. Or possibly, at least often co-occur, with an addiction, a mental illness. as the esteem level fails, and as those things kind of break away at us, things in our relationships might suffer as well. So I'm going to tumble this tower. This is why I'm doing it on camera. All right. So as those relationships fail, we get things like divorce. And possibly things like death could occur. And these are going to occur eventually. Death is going to occur for all of us. But this could be even the death of an animal. It doesn't have to be a child or a spouse. But it's always devastating. And as those relationships fail, other things start to fail often, especially with an addiction and a mental illness. We very well may experience something like an arrest, and after an arrest, it's only fitting that maybe we lose our job. Perhaps we are a social worker, and that arrest will ruin our background checks. So now we've got holes in our safety as well. And so from the physiological standpoint, we eventually may have faced something like eviction. With no money to pay the rent, we may get kicked out on the street. Have to live in our car, or, yeah. And at the very bottom level, I put this on because this is, in essence, a suicide training. Despair. Eventually, this thing fails enough, despair is going to come over, and possibly even suicidal ideations. So this to me is a good representation of a homeless individual. There's a lot of trauma that's happened. There's a lot of things that are keeping this trauma in their life and making it kind of impossible for them to get back into housing. Especially things like arrest or eviction, credit issues. Even if you can get a job, getting back to the point where someone will actually let you move in, is going to be very difficult. So now that we went through this, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about the other side of this this training, which is as intensive case manager, and we're coming in here trying to fix this very unstable structure. This thing is going to fall over any second, or it could. We need to look at the networking part. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this out of the way. Over the wall. All right, over there in the corner. All right. So we are intensive case managers / outreach. So we're coming in trying to help this situation. And the thing about this model is we need to make sure that we work from the bottom up. I mean, it fell apart from the top down, but it has to be built up from the bottom up. So we might have to utilize things like emergency services, employment, educational services, just examples, shelters and food banks. We may need benefits counseling. We may have to utilize peer supports. And then just a blanket sort of other services, because there's plenty of services if we know where they're at. All right. And so, as we start to connect to these other services, we essentially, like here, supported employment, supported education, we start to increase what we have access to as far as when we're helping people. So here, let me just adjust this a little bit. All right, that's good. All right. So, pause. All right. So, sorry, my junkie tail. My tower fell over. I lost a client. So, what I was saying before is we need to be able to, as intensive case managers, make connections with people like employment services. Let's see. There's food banks or emergency shelters. Benefits and detox, but we'll just put it on benefits. This is a big one. Non-discriminatory housing. Probably my favorite, but unfortunately it's a tough one to find. Peer support, individual therapy, so depending on what we're trying to work on. I only had so many blocks. Family therapy, companion pet. This is going to be somewhere else, but we'll just set it right there, even though it's not emergency services. So essentially what the idea here is to show that when you're doing outreach, the more connections you have to other people, other organizations in the community, the better chance you have of filling in some of these gaps. And this thing is just about to tip over. So let's go about trying to rebuild this structure before it falls over. Let me just grab this. Hopefully that's within view. Okay. So now that we have more access to resources, let's just get zoomed in on our tower again. All right, we can start to try to rebuild. And obviously, the bottom is where it's going to happen first, so the physiological needs. So emergency shelter, food banks, yes, any sort of emergency services we can get to try to put a stopgap in this despair area here. All right. And so, moving our way up, ideally, what we're going to be looking for, I mean, this is a hard one to find, but it's a very important one, non-discriminatory housing. So we are not going to work on this person's addiction, which is all, 3/4 of the way up his tower, if we're going to put him on the street afterwards. So before you can work on an addiction, you have to be able to help find some sort of stability on the housing level. And so let's put, hopefully this doesn't fall. Just put it right there. Feels more stable already. All right. All right, so we have non-discriminatory housing. Benefits. Benefits are going to help with financial security. So they're going to be at the safety level. Companion pet. Also a big one to me. If you lost your wife, you had a death in the family, you got nobody to be with, it's very important to have some sort of love in that life to keep you from going back to that despair level on the bottom. So a companion pet, I'm going to put here at love and belonging. And the other option of that was family therapy. If you still have a family that you can reconnect with, family therapy would be a good one. So, also, this is kind of both an esteem and a love and belonging level. Peer support. Peer support can be quite fulfilling for people because they have other people that are suffering from addiction or mental illness, and it just creates some connection and some stability, and you become part of a team working towards fixing things. And here I have supported employment. This isn't really about safety. This is really about esteem needs and self-actualization. It's right there at the top. And supported education may actually help in your financial security eventually. But on the short term, it's probably closer to self-actualization. So I'll just put it up here. Up into the esteem needs. And obviously this is a lot of work. This is just a shortened version. But it gives us an idea and a plan of what we're supposed to work on. And we can just steal some of these other yellow blocks. So for safety, once we have housing, actually having a safe neighborhood to live in would be nice. On the esteem needs, having a job, that's gonna go into the safety level too because it's financial security. And then as that starts to happen, eventually, maybe we'll have individual therapy, we'll continue our education, we'll find some sort of things to bring to us a higher level of self-actualization. And in the end, and there is no real end, but the ideal is that we find gaps to fill in these holes that existed and create stability in our Maslow's tower of instability.